Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on Digimon Ghost Game, episodes 38 and 39. I've actually remembered to write down the title of the episodes. So, episode 38 here is called The Diviner, and it opens up with, right away we know who the Digimon we're dealing with is. It's Domon, which is just a silver Talmon, and he is doing some sort of chant, and I don't know what it's called, but and the only point of reference I have for it is Naruto. Like when they do their attacks and they do that thing with their hands, where they're uh, doing a bunch of positioning of their hands as they get ready to cast their attacks. Right? I don't know what that's called. I've never watched Naruto, but he's sort of doing that. He's doing a chant and then moving his hands, and then he is turning a random person into a talisman. They become flat, like Flat Stanley, and they fold up into like a sheet of paper, and then they're just a talisman. And that's our opening, and then we go to Hiro, who is in this town where Domon is at, because a school here is actually a sister school to his school. Him and his friend, whose name I can't remember right now, the one that's in all the episodes and ends up getting himself captured or attacked and stuff like that all the time. They've come to this town to help with a yearly play they do, right? Or not even really a play, just I don't know what to call it, but it's like a little show they do. And Hiro ends up initially thinking he's just going to be here to do something in the background, but they're going to have him be sort of the main part of the show, which is he is taking on the role of an emperor that ruled over this area a long time ago. He doesn't actually have to do anything. He just has to stand there while everybody else dances around him. But he's dressed up as an ancient emperor that lived here hundreds of years ago. And during the performance, we get we start to hear and see Domon doing again another chant where he basically kidnaps Hiro. Hiro bursts into flames on stage and then is transported to the building where Domon is at. And Domon instantly throws a talisman at him. It hits sticks to his chest, and he is possessed by the actual emperor, I believe, that he was supposed to be in that play. He is possessed, and Domon is there to sort of do his bidding. And the talismans that we saw him make at the start of the episode is him building an army. He turns people into these talismans, and these talismans can turn into monsters, which he then uses to go grab other people, drag them back, and then he'll turn them into talismans too. And they're trying to build up an army of, I think he said 100,000, so they can sort of take back the land that they lost, right? Again, Hiro was the only one here in this town. Everybody else was gone. So we got Gamamon on his own for most of this episode. Well, not alone most of this episode, but Gamamon's here on his own trying to find Hiro. And he meets a new Digimon called Espimon, who just sort of offers to help, and then is also interested in finding Hiro because it turns out Espimon is also looking for Hiro for some reason. Ruri and Kyoshiro and Goromon and Jellymon are off back in town where they normally are. Gamamon actually has a smart idea to call them and tell them what's happening. He doesn't do a very good job explaining it, so Espimon takes over and actually does the explanation, but they get the gist. They know Hiro's in trouble, and they need to go help, but he's a long ways away. So Angoromon introduces them to a Digimon he recently met, called Airdramon, right? Everybody knows Airdramon. Airdramon's a big dragon. He can fly really fast, so they're going to take him to get to this other town. And that's basically it for them. They don't show up until the end of the episode when everything's been resolved. Airdramon shows up again next episode, and so this episode really feels like it was just there to set up Airdramon to be a recurring character, and nothing else. Because, again, Ruri, Kyoshiro, they don't show up until the end. They don't do anything. So back to Gamamon and Espimon. Domon has sent the talismans out to grab people and bring them back, and so he can keep building his army. Gamamon and Espimon follow them, and they find Hero, and they rip the talisman that is causing him to be possessed off of him, and then we get a fight. The fight's okay. We get, like, Domon does a couple of, like, a neat attack, but eventually, like, Canon Weissmon just wipes the floor with him. And then we learn that Domon isn't actually evil. He wasn't actually trying to bring back this emperor and conquer the country or whatever. He himself had gotten possessed by a vengeful spirit from all that time ago. Domon ended up in the human world and decided to study, like, Japanese mysticism, and in doing so he was, like, nearby a shrine with a vengeful spirit in it, and he got possessed. Which is an interesting idea, that a Digimon is getting possessed by a human ghost, but we're not really going to touch on that much. Yeah, and then Espimon meets Hero, and then basically rejects that he's Hero. Like, Espimon says he's looking for Amanakawa Hero, and then Hero says, that's me. And then he's like, no, you don't look like Hero. You're not him. And that's it. We get some reference that basically somebody told him to come see Hero, or to look out, like, search for Hero. But that's it. That's all we get of Espimon. He doesn't appear next episode either. But yeah, episode 38. It was okay. Not a terrible episode. It was interesting to see sort of Gamamon off on his own, and sort of, like, everybody else just gone. Espimon's funny looking. I'm not a big fan of his design, like the weird buck teeth, and, like, I'm just not a fan. But yeah, episode 38, it was okay. Episode 39, this one is called Contagion Island. This episode is, like, the opening confused me, because it opens in the future, and I really dislike whenever any show does this, where it starts, like, halfway through the episode, or towards the end of the episode, and then we go back and we have to get back there. So this episode opens up with, I don't remember her name. Do I have it written down? I do not. Oh wait, no, I do. Nijima. We've seen her, I think, in at least one more episode. I think it was the Splashmon episode. I think she got turned into water, right? She's somebody that works at the school. Like, I think she's specifically the one that works in the dorm and does, like, I don't know if she's, like, in the cafeteria or what, but we've seen her before. It opens with her being transformed, and, like, arms stretching and mutating, and it's gross, and it looks creepy. And then we cut back, and this is where it got confusing, because we see the title, Contagion Island, right? And then immediately it cuts to Hero in his room with a Digimon called Gyukimon in his hand, and we're just, like, dropped midway through a conversation, so I didn't know what happened. I thought the video I was watching, like, skipped ahead or something, or what, so I was just confused for a second. Anyway, this Gyukimon, well, first of all, Gyukimon is apparently a frightening Digimon that just, like, infects people, because everybody's freaking out about him. Everybody's telling Hero to get rid of him. And we learn that this Gyukimon was actually a Ryudamon who just suddenly turned into Gyukimon. And he's not full size, right? Like, Ryudamon is, I don't know, like, Agumon size, right? Or, like, Gamamon sized. And then the Gyukimon that he evolves into is tiny. He's, like, fitting in the palm of Hero's hand. But everybody's afraid of him. He's apparently a big pest in the digital world, infecting Digimon and turning them into Gyukimon. Hero, being Hero, is unable to turn down somebody asking for help. So he agrees to help Gyukimon. And we also know that Hero's dad in the digital world is telling Digimon to come see Hero if they're in trouble. I don't know if this has been established before, but Gyukimon in, like, the beginning of this episode says, like, hey, what is his name? Hakuto? Hakuto said, if I ever get in any trouble, come find you. And so he did. Hero's got a school trip, though, because we can never sit still in this show. We're always traveling for some reason. Hero just got back last week from doing this thing at this other school in another city. Now he's here going on a trip to, like, an island. So Gyukimon comes along, which Kyoshiro freaks out about that because they're on a boat traveling there to this island. And then Kyoshiro sees that he brought him along and freaks out. They get to the island, they're settling in, and this is when Gyukimon, like the actual Gyukimon, like part of him starts taking over, and he starts infecting people. And we see like an inner, not even inner, like the consciousness of Ryudomon sort of slipping away and just becoming like a monster infecting people. And we get to the scene from the beginning with Nijima transforming. And this is the creepiest part of the episode. He bites them with his crotch mouth. I don't want to talk about it. And turns them into Gyukimon. But they're not Digimon, so they don't just evolve into Gyukimon. They become like disgusting like humans. So like it's still human looking. It's just been like misshapen and like stretched and like distorted to look like this spider centaur creature. And like it looks disgusting, and like all the people look gross, and it's really neat. And Ruri, who doesn't go to their school, she goes to a different school, so she eventually comes to the island with Tapermon, who earlier in the episode they wanted to get into contact with to see if he might be able to know how to get Ryudomon back. But they didn't, because Hiro had to go on a school trip. So Airdramon brings Ruri and Angoromon and Tapermon to the island, where they have to try and free Ryudomon, right? Try and fix him, bring him back. He's infecting people, and it's just it's a mess. Tapermon has the idea that the Digivices allow Hiro and them to evolve their Digimon, and then they revert back to these forms. So maybe using the Digivice, we can take Gyukimon and turn him back into Ryudomon. And that's sort of how it works. It's not really explained in depth, but one thing the show has done up until this point was establish that the Digivices don't just work for the partners, right? We only did it the one time in the Frozomon episode where Ruri and Jellymon team up and Ruri evolves Jellymon. So it's an interesting idea, like, okay, like, we can link up the Digivice with other Digimon too, and in this case, we're not doing it to evolve Gyukimon further, we're doing it in hopes that Gyukimon will then revert to his rookie stage. And that works. We get a fight between Gyukimon and Canon Weissmon, and also I should mention that the more Gyukimon infects people, he, like, grows larger. So he started like size of your palm, he's now massive, like not huge, but like, I don't know, he was like normal, like probably taller than humans, but not too big. So we get a fight between Ryudomon, Canon Weissmon. We get like a scene where like the gem on Ryudomon's forehead sort of like appears in front of Gyukimon, and then Gamamon like headbutts that with his attack, and like we get a scene like inside of Gyukimon's like mind, inside of Ryudomon's mind, and Gamamon is in there for some reason, and finds Ryudomon and sort of drags him out, and the day is saved, and Ryudomon's back, and Airdramon made his return, and that's it. It was an alright episode. I think an interesting little like trivia thing, and nobody cares, but I do Tenchi Muyo videos on this show, on the channel too, and what is his name? Masami Kikuchi voices Ryudomon, and he voices Tenchi in Tenchi Muyo, and Tapermon is voiced by Ai Orikasa, who voices Ryoko. So that's just a neat little thing, having Tenchi and Ryoko's voice actors like in this episode of Digimon. Again, it doesn't really have anything to do with the episode, it's just like a neat little trivia thing. But that was cool. The overall episode, I think, like horror-wise, is way better than episode 38. Like the people's like disgusting transformations are really, really neat looking, and grotesque, and it's gross. people just getting infected and, like, again, Contagion Island. Yeah, that's... Is it really, though? That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Gyukimon's spreading it, but I don't think we see them spreading it themselves. So is it really, like, a big... I don't know if Contagion Island is a really good title, is what I'm getting at. Anyway, it was an alright episode. I'm sure Ryodamon will hang around, because, what is it? Masami Kikuchi, he's like a regular Digimon, or not a regular, but he's like voiced other characters in Digimon too, so I'm sure that he'll stick around every once in a while. Airdramon seems like he's going to be popping up from now on, so that's neat. Espimon will come back at some point, I don't know when. So we got introduced to just like a lot of characters who seem like they'll probably come back. And a lot of characters do come back in this show, but yeah, episode 38 and 39, they were okay. 38 was alright. 39 I think was better. But yeah, Digimon Ghost Game, still good. I'm still enjoying it. I think the only like issue I'm having, and it's not really like a big issue, it's just like a little nitpick, is that every episode sort of like starts the same. Like, yeah, every like introduction to this episode's bad guy of the week is different, but like knowing right away, it's like, all right, here's the first couple minutes. What's our problem this week? Okay, now let's go to Hero and see what we're going to do. I don't need that every time. I don't know if we're going to keep doing that every time, or maybe they'll spice it up a bit here and there. But that's like my biggest issue. And again, it's not even that big. It's very nitpicky. But yeah, Ghost Game, still enjoying it. Episodes, these two were pretty good. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.